Real quick, before we jump into the fantasy news, I would just like to say that today is the last day for you to be able to get 10% off anything in the Horde drop, including this tea of 100 goblins. So go ahead and claim your own little mini Horde by visiting the link in the description down below, or just going to danielbgreen.com and picking up any shirt you please while the sale lasts. Back into the news. Welcome everybody to another episode of Fantasy News. I am your disheveled goblin host Daniel Green, and today me and the Horde are going to be collecting, organizing, and presenting a delightful little menagerie of fantasy news for you to partake in. So come with me as we explore these news caves and get to our first checkpoint with Tolkien. And that's because apparently a new collection of Tolkien poems is set to be released in 2024, the September of, which is the wrong way to say that, but we continue on. Now, if you're like me, as soon as you hear this, you think, how? Why? No, this can't be true, because I can't imagine there is a single jacket Tolkien has ever worn and left a paper slip in that someone has not gone into to pull out and publish. How could there be a whole new collection of poems? Well, after digging into the details on this, it becomes a little more clear, as the editors who worked on this put on their blog. The collected poems will include most of the verses Tolkien is known to have written, and for most of these, multiple versions which show their evolution. There are at least 240 discrete poems, depending on how one distinguishes titles and versions, presented in 195 entries, and 5 appendices. When possible, we have used manuscripts and typescripts in the Bodleian Library, at Marquette University, and at the University of Leeds. We have chosen not to include all of the 100 or so poems contained in The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, but have made a representative selection. Surely, no one who reads the collected poems will not already have at least one copy of Tolkien's 2 most popular works.
And that's fair.
His longer poems, as we have said, will be presented as excerpts. The book will also include a long introduction to Tolkien as a poet, a brief chronology of his poetry, and a glossary of archaic, unusual, or unfamiliar words he used in his verse. Continuing, the Amazon UK description gives its extent as 1,368 pages. They then went on to elaborate in a comment that within these intrants they're talking about, 77 have not been published before in any form. And as someone who has been bothered by the presentation and over-republication of Tolkien's work in the past, I kind of actually dig this one. I like structuring it, even if a lot of it is stuff we have seen before, as an evolution of the author, and the fact that there are a sizable chunk of new entries there. It's pretty cool. This actually kind of rocks, and I recommend you actually go check out these posts from these editors. It was kind of neat to see what their vision was here, and they get into a bit of the process of what it is like to get something ready for the Tolkien estate to approve of, and that's neat. But do you know what's even better? Burmese. You see these made from recycled plastic bottles. And that's because Burmese mixes style with adventure and sustainability, with donating 10% of every purchase to help clean up the oceans. But they work for all kinds of swimming occasions. At the beach, Burmese. On the lakes, Burmese buns. Snorkeling on the reef, it's Burmese booty. They got SPF 50 plus protection. And with that nano coating water repellent, it means they dry remarkably. You can choose from 4 different lengths: the short, the classic, the long, and the board short, all of which offer a back pocket key loop and are made with sweat wicking, anti-chafing, anti-odor technology to stop the stank. They're made of stretchy, breathable performance fabric. But for any fathers out there, Burmese is offering a father-son collection right now. So you can go out and match adorably with your favorite little buddy. So check out Burmese by clicking the link down below and use my code DANIEL20 to receive a 20% discount with your beautiful Burmese buns. But from here, we are going to move on over to some amazing cover reveal news, quite possibly the best of the year so far, and that's because we are getting one from the Broken Binding, and this is a continuation of their Malazan series in collaboration with Patrick Leo, with art by Felix Ortiz. And yes, this cover for Dead House Gates is kind of in line with the overall composition of the first cover they showed, and hot damn, does it just feel Malazan. It is depicting the Battle of Vathor Crossing. I can't wait to get my hands on this one day. Good job, Broken Binding. You've got something really special here. I'm so jealous of Patrick. My dude is living a Malazan dream right now. AD by me. Well, jealousy and commiseration by me, Patrick. And in some exciting modern fantasy news, we had a clip get posted on TikTok by user ANJ at Anj. I hope I'm saying that right. Rebecca Kuang pitched a project she is working on coming down the road. I'll do my best to summarize the pitch given in this video by saying apparently this upcoming work of hers is going to be following 2 PhD students who are venturing into hell to retrieve their advisor who died in a freak magical accident in hopes of getting some amazing recommendation letters. And this world's magic revolves around logical contradictions, which is fascinating alone in concept. Rebecca Kuang is really good at those. And the overall pitch for this came down to like a Lewis Carroll-esque adventure. Check out the video linked down below to see it all said better by the actual author. And I'm absolutely stoked to get my hands on this book that is slated to come out next year. But speaking of established authors, we also got a TikTok from Neil Schusterman for an upcoming prequel in the Scythe series that is going to be taking place. It sounds like during the foundation and initial congregation of all of these Reapers, and yeah, that sounds pretty nice, though he said social media is involved, and involving social media in any science fiction story has a lot of pitfalls. But yeah, this seems really cool, and I'm excited for Scythe fans. But moving on to a story I'm having to try very hard to stop myself to use as an excuse to continue to dump on the Hugo Awards.
So tempting.
The Nebula Awards have announced their finalists for this year's award ceremony, and there are certainly some interesting picks here to go over. With the official ceremony and finalists picked June 8th. And just so you don't have to hear my dyslexic ass struggle with names, here's Kayla reading off the nominees.
And the finalists for the Nebula Award for Best Novel are The Saint of Bright Doors by Vajra Chandrasekhara, The Water Outlaws by S.L. Huang, Translation State by Anne Leckie, The Terraformers by Annalee Newitz, Shigiti and the Brass Head of Obalufan by Wol Talabi, and Witch King by Martha Wells. And the finalists for Best Novella go to The Crane Husband by Kelly Barnhill, Ling Hoon by Ai Zhang, Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher, Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee, The Mimicking of Known Successes by Malka Older, and Mammoths at the Gate by Mi Vo. The finalists for game writing go to The Bread Must Rise by Stuart C. Baker and James B. Amon, Alan Wake 2 by Sam Lake, Clay Murphy, Tyler Burton Smith, and Sanika Anala, Nine Fox Gambit, Machineries of Empire Role-Playing Game by Yunha Lee and Marie Brennan, Dredge by Joel Mason, Chance of Sinar by Julian Moya and Thomas Panwell, and Baldur's Gate by a ton of people.
Thank you so much, babe. And believe it or not, the strongest opinion I actually have here is for the game category. Because I have said several times here that Baldur's Gate 3, and I still stand by this, might be my new favorite game ever. I keep trying to move on to playing other games. Kayla, what do I keep coming back to? I can't stop baldering. But I wouldn't give it the best writing award. I think the writing for it is outstanding, don't get me wrong. For the specific medium of gaming, I started playing the new Alan Wake, got too scared, and then watched a full movie edited walkthrough of the game on YouTube, because I'm a giant. And the writing there was awesome for the medium of gaming. I want that award to go to the game that I feel like really did a good job of utilizing the sphere of gaming for its writing better than anybody else. And I say that fully acknowledging that Baldur's Gate also did that to an excellent degree. I wouldn't be mad either way. I just want to see the game I do not like as much win. And I thought I would note that. It has been noted. But if you're not done hearing about games, do not worry, because we have one more big story for you here. It turns out that we might be getting a new Dungeons and Dragons based video game that's described as a life simulation and RPG, being brought to us by the studio Gameloft. With the full headline reading, Gameloft has announced a partnership with Hasbro to publish a new Dungeons & Dragons game for consoles and PC, developed by Gameloft Montreal, which previously developed Disney, Dreamlight Valley, LEGO Star Wars Castaways, and several Dungeon Hunter series games. And one thing that gives me hope for this, aside from the fact that it's not going to be some just cheap mobile game, is apparently it'll also be set in Forgotten Realms, which is my favorite setting for things in D&D, period, which is not an unpopular opinion, and I think it was kind of an obvious call. That being said, though, I haven't been very happy with Hasbro in a long, long time, and my D&D itch for gaming is still thoroughly being scratched by a non-D&D game we just mentioned. I don't know, I'm really conflicted about this one. How do you all feel about it? Let me know in the comments down below. What's that? You want even more gaming news, and you want it to be more classic? God damn, all right! Well, I am excited to say that the creator of RuneScape has announced the project he's been working on for the last 10 years could be released as early as this year, and that would be Brighter Shores. I actually learned this on stream due to one of my moderators being more informed than me. Apparently, this is not being made by the same company that has been running RuneScape for a while, because RuneScape was sold to them a long time ago, and instead it's just from the original creator, which, good to hear. And it will be a free-to-play MMORPG. And I really like that apparently the brother duo, this is a duo who originally made RuneScape, are re-collaborating on this as well. So it's like this doesn't feel like cheap cash grab nostalgia. It just seems like two people who were impactful in my childhood getting together to do it again. Bill and Ted's excellent RuneScaping 2, but not embarrassing. And do you know how very often certain movies are remade that's like already a great movie and you're like, why are you remaking that one? Go remake a movie that maybe wasn't done fantastically in the first time, that way you can come back and improve on it. And then there are movies that are so bad, you're like, hey, don't even try and remake that. Why is this getting a sequel? Why? Stop making this thing. Well, guess what? Deathstalker is apparently going to be rebooted with the director from Psycho Gorman attached. And of the names I would have thought to pick for rebooting Deathstalker, the director of Psycho Gorman would not have been one of them, but now that someone else said it, I still don't want to see more Deathstalker. But you know what? Prove me wrong. I would love to be proven wrong here. And apropos to a point we were just discussing with the last film, The Crow's new trailer has just been dropped with the remake of the film starring Bill Skarsgård and FKA Twigs. It looks like it will be many people of a certain aesthetics favorite film. I'm talking about like edgy teens. A lot of edgy teens are gonna love the shit out of this. I would recommend skipping this trailer if you want to remain unspoiled for the events of a remake of a film you may have already seen, because it does pretty much just tell you the entire initial story of The Crow. And I cannot shake the feeling that there is something weird about remaking the film that famously Brandon Lee died on the set of. I'm sure The Crow could have been remade even if that wasn't the aura around the film. But saying that isn't looming over this remake as well, I'm just conflicted. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. It feels inevitably weird, but I don't blame anyone who still wants to go see this. Like, do your thing. I'm not judging you. And I am probably overreacting. Shaking that off, in some fun quickie news, Elijah Wood, Randall Park, Ashley Johnson, and Yvette Nicole Brown have all been cast in the upcoming Among Us movie. You know what? That's fun. That's just a good fun time. I feel the same way about the Among Us movie that I do about the Minecraft movie, which is at first I was like, why is this kind of need to be a thing? Money. But then I see the casting and I really think about the potential. If you tried to do like a goofy, serious, tongue-in-cheek thriller in space, just skinning it Among Us could be fun. Why not? You know, maybe I'm just needing more joy in my life, but I'm down for this. I've never yelled so angrily yet joyfully at my friends. It was a wonderful time. I would still play that game in a heartbeat. You're not feeling happy enough yet? Well, quickie news. Bill Hader has been cast as the voice of the Cat in the Hat in an upcoming Cat in the Hat film. He's a great pick for that. I want them to make the Cat in the Hat his character from Barry and just remake the story around that. It will be a disaster, but it'll be one that I love.
Cat, what are you doing here?
Linda.
And in the final story of the day, 8 Billion Genies is apparently going to be adapted, a story with the premise that everyone on the planet got access to a genie at the same time and granted one wish and madness ensues. And I like that premise enough that I'm going to be reading this series of comics, and I'm excited for that adaptation from Seth Rogen's production company. And before we close things out, some quick indie pub promo from a book written by one of you goblins.
And today's indie pub promo is The Beauty of Dawn by W.D. Scythes. Pitched as a stay-up-all-night tale of love, loss, and friendship, this debut classic epic fantasy adventure is full of magic, non-stop action, and an unforgettable journey toward redemption. Nathaniel Cade, a mistrustful thief, has never seen the sun. Centuries ago, it is said that the prophets cursed Elidor with an eternal midnight. While the realm dreams of the sunlight's return, Nathaniel uses his unique connection to the darkness to survive. But when he saves a knight from the faith of Ioun from a spectral ambush, an unlikely mentorship blooms. He is thrust into a grueling and foreign landscape where prophets are massacred for their dark magic and murderous wraiths bleed through the veil into the land of the living. To save all he has come to love, Nathaniel must join ranks of those who still believe they can bring back the sunlight. Check it out in the links down below.
But this has just been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Check out the links in the description down below to go to the Daniel B. Green store and pick up your own Goblin Horde tea. Thank you again to Burmese for sponsoring today's video, and like and subscribe if you have not already. Check out my books if you'd like to read a cyberpunk bubblegum-ish vampire story called Neon Ghosts, or wait for a fun announcement about an upcoming deluxe edition for the Lawful Times. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.